So now I'm going to hand over to Reverend Guy Hewitt. He is the Racial Justice Director of the Church of England.
Thank you, Martine, and my brothers and sisters, I'd say my sisters and brothers in Christ. I am delighted to be here with Watch at this conference, particularly for this celebration of the 30th anniversary of the ordination of women. Although we can all say we aren't quite there yet, there is cause for celebration. And this 30th anniversary has a personal resonance with me because it is also the 30th year of my prior work in policy and international advocacy on what was then women and development policy, which has subsequently become gender and development work. And my work professionally in this area of gender justice was rooted in my postgraduate studies when a supervisor questioned or asked the question, who was missing? And basically she was challenging my research on youth delinquency about the absence of a focus on gender issues within that research. And consistent with that challenge from her to me on this call for inclusivity, I ask you to this conference on Not Equal Yet to consider the question, who is missing from this gathering? If you look around, and in my role as a lead on racial justice, I'm asking, and I have to ask the question, why are there so few global majority heritage and UK minoritized ethnic participants? In this work, it is important to underscore the distinction, both in theology and practice, between feminism and womanism. It's an important, significant distinction, and we will touch on some of these issues that have come up before. And I raise this not as a criticism, but as you all bring this conference to a close, as a reflection and encouragement of what Theo earlier stressed as the need for unity as rooted in Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. That verse is a call to dismantle social barriers, to dismantle social divisions in order for us to be truly one in Christ. But this oneness, which is important for us to appreciate, is not about uniformity, but to embrace and celebrate our diversity. We hear most clearly in Revelation 7:9 what it means when we come together around the throne. It's not about us all monochromatically standing together unable to make distinctions, but we are told every nation, all tribes, people and languages gathered and standing before the throne. So as we gather here today to repudiate the sin of gender discrimination, let us also affirm to confront all forms of discrimination. And again, as Alex most eloquently spoke to, this issue of intersectionality, that we can't be blinkered or stuck in specific lanes, but as we deal with discrimination, we have to look at the issues of gender and race and ethnicity. And I speak about ethnicity differently because there's a way in which we seem to or have largely overlooked the serious challenges of Gypsy, Roma, and travelers communities. We need to speak to the issue of age and ability and sexuality and gender identity, issues of environmental and climate justice, and all other barriers of that journey to unity. Somebody said during the debate in 2020 on the church's lack of responsiveness to the Windrush generation, that the church has good intentions but lacks intentionality. And so what I say to this conference is that you need to have the intentionality of seeing that continuity between the work of gender and all other issues of injustice. And how do we get there? Bishop Rose spoke to that earlier today when she raised Micah 6:8. That what does the Lord require of us? To do justice in all areas, in all forms. This is action-oriented, the call to us all to confront all forms of discrimination. But love, mercy, our worldview, our perspective is to see the image of God, to see Christ in each and every one, because we know that we are driven into this work by the love command. The call to love our neighbor, which we know is not those who identify with us and we feel comfortable with, but as we heard in the parable of the Good Samaritan, whomever God places before us in need and asks us to love them, love our neighbor as ourselves. And lastly, to walk humbly. And that's about our spirituality, our heart attitude towards God. Because these issues of justice and becoming one in Christ is as much about being as it is about doing. We think of the justice work cerebrally when ultimately it comes deep from within, and it is through God's grace and His mercy that we are successful in this. So as Christian said in her call before tea, it's we need to pray. We need to pray fervently, openly to God to bring about the changes we want both in His church and in our world. And as we seek to transform ourselves, remembering from Romans 12, do not be conformed to this world. We are not called to fight fire with fire. As Martin Luther King Jr. said to us, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. This journey has been long, and for many here, it feels like it's not happening quick enough or soon enough. That there is much labor, there is much struggle. Sometimes we find ourselves questioning how and why and when. But we are called to keep faith. And as I conclude, I will ask that God continue to bless and guide Watch and all of its members on that journey ultimately, which is a spiritual one, to become one in Christ. And let us all continue to walk by faith in hope and love. Thank you.